I welcome you to this session on Agile Metrics on the field. Let me tell you the background behind this. When I started my Agile coaching career, there was a pressure on me stating, we should believe in the teams. When I say team, more importantly, the development team. And the word metrics should not be talked at all because that is against agile. So this kind of thought process was heavy from the environment on the fellow coaches and all. So those were the days where we were transitioning from development and the waterfall model to the agile model. Probably it was true at that point in time because there was a heavy micromanagement on the delivery. So probably the thought process behind that particular school of thought is, we need to enable the team. We need to trust the team. So we are trusting the team. We have to trust the team. That is the philosophy of Agile. Everything is fine. But what is happening is, if you see in the last 3 to 4 years, my first question is, are Agile projects successful? Are they meeting the customer satisfaction? Are they giving the highest possible return on investment? The answer is it's neutral. It's neutral. So something is going in a different way, right? So now in the process of agile principles, agile methodology, and trusting the team, what is happening with the development team? What is happening with the requirements or stories? What is happening with the product owners? What's happening with the Scrum Master? That means, is Scrum Master doing his job effectively? Is product owner doing his job effectively? Is the development team staying up to the trust that Agile has empowered them? The question is neutral. That means if you go in a formal sessions, you will get certain valid reasons. But if you go and talk to the team in the silos, that means behind the scenes or off the field, in a casual talk, people keep on telling the problems like, I don't get my user stories right. I don't see the user stories are written properly. I don't see the acceptance criteria properly written. I don't get an opportunity to speak with the product owner and clarify my doubts. During mid of the sprint, if I have to approach my product owner, there are certain situations wherein I have to wait till sprint review meeting. So I don't get an opportunity to speak. This is how the development team says. And the impediments are taking long time to resolve. And the sprint ceremonies are being facilitated in a prescriptive way. And so everything is coming to certain uncomfortable zone now, right? So the agile philosophy, agile mindset has provided answers to probably 10 years before, 8 years before. But now there are competing challenges out there. So to answer those things, we need to know what is happening. We need to know what is happening, right? So to know, to measure. And then if you put the word metrics for that, then yeah, I have to put the word metrics. But then the intent of providing the metric is not to investigate, is not to micromanage, but to know. Why? Unless I know whether what's happening with the product owner, what's happening with the development team, what's happening with the Scrum Master, you know what? I can't really understand where to apply fix. So that is why today's topic is Agile Metrics on the field with intent to know. Okay, friends? So let me get on to the screen. Let me get on to the topic now. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So in this session, we're going to cover metrics. Why and why not in Agile culture? Because there are certain school of thought or certain section of people who believes that metrics should not be employed, who believes that metrics may appear as a micromanagement to the team. There are certain people who believes that metrics may not enable the team. So let us understand whether to go for these metrics, whether not to go for this. Okay, and then we'll go in details about this subject. And then our intent all through is to measure, is to know. Okay, so let's get on to the next topic. Okay, metrics, why and why not in agile culture. Okay, friends. So let me talk about it. Now, are the product owners conversing right with the stakeholders? Meaning, do you see that whenever the product owner is bringing the user stories, is the product owner is interacting with the stakeholders who will influence the return on investment of the product? What kind of conversations he's making? Is he in touch with the chief product owner? Is he in touch with the targeted sample consumers for the proposed product? Is he gauging the return on investment properly? Is he converting those conversations into a proper user stories? Answer is no. On the field, my friends, what's happening is the connect between the product owner to product owner to product owner and chief product owner is not happening. This is my experience, right? We are having scrum meetings at the execution development team level, but however, at the product owner level, we do not see the constant sync-ups. Okay, and we see a trend wherein the product owners are prioritizing the stories wherever they have clarity upon, right, friends? So when they actually prioritize user stories where they have clarity upon, it is against the agile philosophy, right? That means our stories are not prioritized properly. Okay, I'm talking about 60% of the scenarios. Probably there are 30% scenarios where things are happening properly. Similarly, the next question comes, are the stories that are coming to sprint, they are following minimum viable product, then minimum marketable features, then the gaining advantage over the competitive products? Are they happening? Do the development team have visibility into it? Do we have product planning session? As part of the product planning session, are we cutting the minimum viable product and the subsequent cuts for the subsequent releases? Or the outcome of release planning is input to the sprint planning, and the outcomes of sprint planning is again mapped to release planning, and the outcome of the releases are mapped to the product planning in terms of how much increment I have realized? Do the consumers are able to see the product in its journey? Is the movie called product? Okay, so for 30% minimum viable product got completed. Okay, this is how the product is looking like. Is the consumer looking at like that? Is he getting that visibility? Does the team that is they're working in sprint teams, are they having the holistic view about how the product is unfolding across all the teams? Question is no. Now, is the Scrum Master safeguarding the team? It's, guys, sprint has started, till end of the sprint, I don't want other people to add more stories to us? Is the Scrum Master able to safeguard the team so that they can just focus on it? Is the Scrum Master resolving the impediments at the fastest possible pace? Answer is question. Is the development team is acting up to the enablement that is given to them? Are they following test coverage? Are they following code coverage? When they say something is done, are they really clear about the definition of done? Question. Now, how many times we are meeting our sprint goal? How many times we are meeting our release goals? Question. And then can the product owner confidently go to the stakeholders and say, guys, this is how our product is looking like. The movie called Product Journey has come so far. Like this, is he able to engage with the consumers, with the sponsors? Question. Okay, all Scrum teams are able to see the product developed by all involved Scrum teams? Question. Is the customer happy? Question. So friends, when there are so many questions, what is wrong to know why, where is happening what? That's why, my friends, at the end of the day, the school of thought called metrics, that word itself should not be visible, should not be listened on agile space. Probably, I am asking all those school of thought people, guys, agile is all about listen, reflect, retrospect, and adopt. Okay, the school of thought called metrics should not be deployed on the field. Probably worked well 5 years before, 4 years before. But the time has come, my friends. Today, when customer is not happy, when the product owner, when the scrum master, when the development team, they are having challenges to act up to their responsibilities, it is important and imperative to know what is happening, where is happening. So that's why, my friends, with the intent of to know, we need to understand what kind of metrics we can deploy on agile space. So friends, then next question is, if I go and ask my friends, okay, let's get on to some metrics. So in my experience, I'm coming across situations wherein the team members, they think, what maximum metrics can be there? A number of stories we planned in a sprint versus number of stories we delivered. That can be one metric. Number of story points we planned versus number of story points we have delivered. Probably the velocity. Probably we can use last 3 sprints average velocity as a guidance bar to predict the future stories for the upcoming sprints. Till this moment only, I'm seeing people thinking. Then it is actually coming to the question, do we not have any further metrics on agile space? Yes, they are. This session is an eye-opener for us. It's going to tell the plethora of metrics. It's going to tell you so many metrics are there. Okay, we need to know with the intent of knowing. Okay, not investigating, not micromanaging. With the intent of knowing what's happening where. Let us understand these metrics in detail. Okay, friends. So our intent is we are measuring because we want to know. We want to know because we can take proper steps to address the gaps. Okay, friends. Now, metrics, they're conceptual. See, friends, I come across in my experience saying that, Krishnamurthy, can you share me the template for this? Can you tell me the metrics for this? Or do you suggest me some kind of the metrics that you followed? How do we solve this kind of a situation? These kind of questions I come across. See, friends, first thing I want to tell you, metrics are actually coming from the needs of the stakeholders. The needs of the stakeholders are unique from context to context. So we first need to understand the needs of stakeholder and the needs of the business for which we are running this project. For example, if you ask me, on any project or engagement, we first need to have progress. Okay, we have to progress. Then we want our people to be happy, because happy people provide happy products. Happy people build happy products. We want customers to have, we want customers to be happy, because we are there because of customers. And we want business growth, right? We want business growth. So these are the 4 levers, right? So our intent of knowing what's happening should be a combination of these levers: progress, people, customer, and business growth. Now, who are all the people involved here? Number 1 is development team. Okay, we need to know from their perspective. Number 2, the product owner. Number 3, the scrum master. And finally, the king, the customer. Okay, so conceptually, we can design better metrics only when our objectives are clear to us. As part of this session, we are having 2 levers of objectives. 1, what we want to achieve. We want to achieve progress, desired progress with happy people for making happy customers so that there will be business growth. And again, it gets fed into happy people, happy progress, happy customer. That is one aspect. The other aspect is we wanted to see whether what's happening with the product owner, what's happening with the development team, what's happening with the Scrum Master, and what's happening with the customer. Okay, so let's get on to know these two levers, right? One is people aspect, another is progress aspect or result aspect. Okay, let's get on to this. Friends, the first thing that I wanted to advise here is the value point. Okay, you may be understanding, look, okay, story point is something I know, but value point is something I don't know. Yes, friends, it is like this. Okay, you are going on a road, okay, for a walking in the morning walk, and you wanted to walk for about 2 kilometers. Suddenly, some friend has come and said, "Look, I want to give you a lift. Do you want to come and get onto my car?" Then you say, "No, I want to walk. But thank you for that." So the effort of he driving you in his car is not of much use to you in that particular situation. Instead, you want to walk. Similarly, you are in a health emergency. And in that situation, you're running fast or you're walking fast to take an auto, to take a car, to take a cab, kind of a thing. But nothing is visible in the near vicinity. Then suddenly some friends come and he says, "Can I give you a lift? Do you want to accompany me? I can drop you in the nearest hospital." And that particular 2 kilometer stretch that he takes you is a great value to you. He saved a life, right? So value point is all about from the perspective of the benefit the sponsor gets, the benefit the product enjoys, right? So the value point should be combination of increasing happiness, increasing revenue, reducing the cost or loss, or improving the processes. Okay. If I have to explain increasing happiness, first, from the customer perspective, we should reduce the pain areas. Then we should ensure that the hygiene aspects are provided. Then we should provide enhanced experience. Okay, we should work towards enhancing his experience with our product. And then we have to create a wow experience for the customer. And then finally, we have to give certain features which outbeats the competing products or competition. Right, friends? So similarly, story points are measured on a relative sizing. Okay. Here also, we have a base value point story, and based upon happiness, revenue it provides, the cost reduction it provides, and improving the processes. Processes is in terms of, ease of operating with the product, right? Now, with these things, we should be able to come with a value point concept. That means at the end of the day, value point is what actually the customer is getting out of us, or the product is getting out of us. For example, if a product is providing, let's assume that 1,000 points worth of value. Now, in this sprint, we are able to realize 100 points. Next sprint, 200 points is targeted. Likewise, my friends, value point is from the desired return on investment, from the desired happiness, customer happiness. It is basically the output of or the verdict of the customer or the product or the better business we do. This is the result. This is the outcome perspective. Right, friends? So just the way we do relative size estimation, similarly, value points also we should actually bring into the point, because this much value we delivered sprint after sprint. Okay. And then we can actually come back saying that, okay, if happiness is enhances experience, if revenue is 3x percentage compared to my base story, if the cost is getting reduced by Y%, if the process is improved by 3Z%, then I probably wanted to give value points as 30. It's a relative size. Yeah. So likewise, the second, so the point here is sprint after sprint, we have to measure the value points that we deliver. These value points should be decided by the product owner, and he assigns, guys, the value points for this story is 8 or 13. Likewise, he provides the value points. And as soon as we achieve the acceptance criteria, then we claim those value points. So we have to track, right? We have to track the value points sprint after sprint. If you see here, sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, and it is about sprint 6, we're actually targeting 23 value points per sprint, right? So it decides basically in terms of how happy the people are. See, generally, when you go for a customer satisfaction, depending upon the mood at that time of the customer. For example, you go to product owner or you go to some stakeholders. Are you happy with the services that the team is doing? Then in certain situations, our customers, they in turn look at their bosses, how they are happy. Are they happy with this team or not? So if they are not happy, they tend to decrease the satisfaction rating for us. Internally, he is probably neutral or probably at 60% happiness. But because his environment, his bosses are not happy, he probably says, okay, the satisfaction is around 40% for you. So what is happening? What is happening is the customer satisfaction that you're receiving is actually getting influenced with certain core influential stakeholders. But the moment you use the concept called value points, what happens is you avoid those subjectivity. You will say the value points we delivered sprint after sprint is this. So that's clear. People cannot say, people cannot deny the data, right? So this is what is, see, value point from the outcome perspective, the value point is awarded as a relative sizing to each story by the product owner. As and when you achieve the acceptance criteria and you're able to demonstrate the story as per the product owner's acceptance criteria, you claim these value points, and we want the value points to be tracked as an outcome that is produced from each sprint. So value point is outcome that the product owner or the community or the stakeholders or the consumers are getting, right? So they just the way I told the example saying that certain times we spend little effort, but the value will be more. Certain times we spend a lot of effort, but the value it actually gets for the product is less, right? You can relate in the real-time scenarios, you can understand. Okay, so value points are outcome-oriented, relative sizing, awarded by product owner. Okay, friends. Now, next thing is story points. You're all clear about story points, friends. Story point is in terms of a development team perspective, what it takes to build them, right? The story point is decided based upon 3 factors. One is complexity, another is unknowns or risks. The third is the effort involved. Okay, using these 3 things, you do a relative sizing, and then you come up with these story points. This you're all are aware as agile practitioners. Okay, if you want, you can refer one of my videos on story points so that you can get the full length understanding on story points. Okay, so these story points are awarded as per Fibonacci series till 13. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 5 is 8, 8 plus 5 is 13. From 13 onwards, modified Fibonacci series like 20, 40, 60, 100 is followed. So it is relative sizing. So story point is from the what it takes to produce that feature. Value point is the outcome. Story point is what it takes to complete this feature. Okay, friends. So at the end of the day, so the story points are all aware, but I'm just letting you know. So for example, as a student, you must have taken a lot of efforts to complete a subject. You clear the subject. The credits you are getting is 4. Similarly, there's other easy subject also. You complete it with a less effort, then also you are getting 4 or 6 credits. So the credits that you're actually getting is ultimately the value points for you. But the amount of effort you spend, the amount of textbooks, the amount of classes the amount of assignments you do to complete that coursework, that is what is story point. That means what it takes to deliver that is story points. Whereas what it ultimately matters to the consumer is what is value point, right? So now the velocity is basically the number of story points you completed within a sprint. For example, this is for example, you take an acceptance criteria and you say, okay, friends, this story is awarded as 13 story points. I completed the acceptance criteria, so I'm claiming these story points. Now, in a sprint, if whatever is the total completed stories. For example, there come two scenarios. Scenario one is you completed a story. That means all the acceptance criteria you are able to showcase. Then you are awarded fully. There are certain situations wherein you do a vertical slicing of the story, and as part of that, you do some out of five acceptance criteria, three you have, you're able to complete. That means 60% of the story points you can claim. Okay, it all depends upon the working agreements. So velocity is the number of story points completed within the sprint, and it is summation of story points delivered by the sprint, delivered by the team at the end of the sprint. So we want the other trend saying that how the trend of velocity is happening, right? Okay, 32, 30, 35, 35, 19. Oh, how come this is coming low? What's the reason? Is it because there is a reason where there is a rotation of people, or there are more public holidays, there are more unplanned leaves. So such kind of thing can be there, but it talks about it. It tells the trend actually talks about it on the field, my friend. What is happening is on the field, I don't see a situation wherein people are actually taking the tracking, or that they are not referring the trend, and the input for this particular trend is not to report, it is to make certain decisions, right? To understand what's happening. See, more importantly, my friend, it takes so much amount of time to produce this report, but we have to spend a few minutes to understand what this graph or what this trend or what this image is telling me, what kind of decisions I can take. Such kind of thing we can always talk, right? So velocity is the other metric. Now the beauty, friends, you see here, when you intersperse velocity versus value points, right? Okay, so first sprint, 32 story points of effort I spent, 18 value points I delivered. Second sprint, 30 story points worth of work I have invested out of my pocket. The value realized by business is 17. Third sprint, 35 story points have worked, 20 value points are delivered. Fourth sprint, 35 story points I have provided, and then 21 value points are coming. Now look at the friends, 9 and in the next sprint 5, you are actually spending 19 story points, but the value realizes more. Probably better features are prioritized. Okay, and then upcoming sprint, 15 story points only you completed, but the value the business realizes 23. So it actually tells you a lot of message out of it. Now you also think, friends, how many of you are actually get this kind of a trend? The moment you see the trend, then all of us will be in the same page saying that, okay, I think is the prioritization of the stories happening properly? Why can't they take up the most value-added features? Is product owner giving those features? So the development team, the product owner, the consumers, everybody will be in the same page, because, my friends, to know is our intent. So the moment you know how the effort invested out of you versus the value realized, the trend is shown, then it is excellent. Okay, yeah. The next one is beauty lies in details, my friends. Okay, so beauty lies in details. For example, there is a feature 5. Its value points are 72, story points are 40. In the front, you see feature 5, it's a medium-sized one. The value point is 72, story point is 40. If you look at the back, you see there are 7 user stories. The story points, first story is 13 story points, value point is 20. So US2 20 is 8 story points, value point is 20. So the moment you see the features, sub-epics, epics, as a combination of value points and story points, that means what it takes out of you versus what ultimately the product is realizing, it's a beauty. It's a beauty. It's basically you are showing the data for the right decision making. Okay, friends? The next one is the user story characteristics. Most of the times, despite best coaching, we see on the ground wherein the user stories are not defined at the fundamental level in a defined or desired template. That means we don't know who is requesting this feature, what is being requested, and why is being requested. Similarly, the acceptance criteria also is not defined in a proper template. That means what is the context, when a trigger happens, and what is the expected outcome. See, friends, I'm telling you, I've seen user stories wherein they clone user stories in Jira. Just there is user story, a bunch of information about 4 pages will be there within user story, and they clone it and they provide it. And in such kind of things I've seen. See, simple things are not happening on the ground, my friends. So that's why user story characteristic, like whether user story is in defined template, whether the acceptance criteria is defined in the proper template, and whether the acceptance criteria is covering happy path, alternate path, failure path, and non-function requirements, whether the proper grooming is done or not, it is a responsibility of the product owner and the team. Team helps, but ultimately the product owner has to take the responsibility. My friends, what's happening is many situations, the more focus is happening on the development team. Okay, they are being scrutinized, they are being tracked, they are being questioned. But when the stories are not properly given, when the product owner is not doing proper conversations, when the stories are not defined at the fundamental level, how you expect quality, friends? So we need to have a measure on how product owner is also working. So that's why, my friends, we need to know, have metrics saying that how many conversations the product owner has done with his key stakeholders. Okay, what is the date when last product planning has happened, and what is the date when the next product planning happens? Because there's a product planning, there is a release planning, there is a sprint planning, and sprint planning out the sprint outcome, sprint review outcome goes to release outcome goes to product. Now these planning sessions need to happen, right? Product planning, release planning, sprint planning, and daily plan, like scrum, like a daily scrum, right? Daily planning. These all need to work in congruence, bottom to top, top to bottom, and bottom to top. Okay, so in number of situations, what happens is we don't have any visibility about product planning. We don't know what is minimum viable product at all. We don't know, what is the scope for the upcoming releases. What we know is we are working as a sprint team, and we only know about our product, our team's sprint goal. And after sprint review is done, if the product owner provides the prioritized user story for the next sprint, that itself is great for us. That is how we are working mostly. And then if product owner doesn't do a product planning workshop, if they don't communicate with among each other, I'm asking one question: are the product owners, chief product owner, responsible for a specific product, are they talking among each other? Are they discussing with the product stakeholders? If they yes, then it's good. But in most scenarios, at least in 60% scenarios, it's not happening. This has been hijacked. So sprint. Focus on development team. The product owner is not tracked. The scrum master is not tracked. We need to track product owner. So what is the date when the last product planning event has happened? What is the date when last release planning has happened? Whether the minimum viable product and other scope for other releases, the release cuts have happened and everybody knows about it or not? What is the consumer pulse or satisfaction on the product increment that is completed so far? Okay, and are the constant meetings happening among chief product owner, and business analyst? What is the number of stories where development team got back stating, I need more information? That means the story got groomed, but in between, during the sprint, the team comes back to the product owner, I need clarification. Why it is happening like that? How many stories where development team has come back in between saying, I need more details? Okay, now for the sprint demos, is the product owner inviting the critical stakeholders who actually will get benefited from the product, who is actually the sponsors or consumers? Are they being invited? Are there proper demos are happening or not? Is the team properly doing a preparation demo for the actual demo? Are the sprint demos are taken properly serious or not? We need to know those things. If we don't know those things, then only focus on development team. What happens? We are implementing Agile for namesake. We can't achieve the desired benefits. Similarly, if you see the product backlog, how many total stories are there? How many are not ready? How many are ready for grooming? That means product owner has done his part and he expects the cooperation from the development team in the product backlog refinement session so that they together groom it. And then how many stories are groomed and ready for sprint? And how many stories are in progress, in sprinting, in progress? How many stories are on hold? How many stories got cancelled? How many stories got delivered? Friends, where is the visibility? It's happening. It is like a tea on the old in the old cup, right? So basically, what you're doing is again you're micromanaging the development team only. So we need to know, my friends. We need to. There are certain product owners who are doing really great job, and probably we want to appreciate them because their good practices will help us. Now, in the name of Agile, if you don't know these things, what is happening is the good product owners are not being recognized. The bad product owners are also not recognized. So requirements or stories are not properly coming. Then how you expect products to be successful? Friends, implementing Agile is not destination, my friends. We are here in a business. We need to show return on investment, business growth, happy customers, happy people, happy progress. Okay, so let's go to the next one. The next one is called technical debt. Okay, the technical debt is the coding you must do tomorrow because you take a shortcut today in order to deliver the software quickly today. That means you basically, there are three kinds of technical debts. One is deliberate technical debt. That means basically, when you are coding or you are doing certain thing, the developer, he knows what is right way. He also knows what is quick way. And he also knows what is the wrong way. But the wrong way will provide results for him quickly. So in the hurry to meet the sprint goal, our people deliberately, okay, they do things that gives you faster results. For example, so those things we should know, and how to address this is we have to say, okay, guys, we are completing this, but right way of doing is this. But for now, because you are asking, I'm applying a short fix or short-term fix, but I'm adding this item to product backlog so that these many story points worth of work technically we have to do so that we make it right. Because always we can't work in a mode of doing everything right. Certain times pressure will be there. So in that situation, for example, in the name of development, in the name of testing or whatever it is, in the name of doing this particular thing, if you are adopting quick way or wrong way, you should mention the right way and you should get it added to the product backlog, and certain story points should be awarded to this, and that need to be addressed as per prioritization. The other thing is accidental or outdated technical debt. As the system evolves and requirements change, you might come to realize that your design is flawed, or new functionality has become difficult, or the framework that you're using is outdated. Now system is very slow. Okay, how do we do this? Refactor it periodically. The third one is bit rot technical debt. This, for example, friends, what happens is you come to the end of the product cycle. So the product is not responding. It's an outdated software. It's outdated functioning. Okay, no function within the program is properly designed. It is because many people who claim to be experts, but they're not experts. They don't understand the requirements properly. They do a cut and paste job, and they somehow make things work. Such kind of system is where they make it. It happens all the period of time. Then you have to avoid this consistently, and you have to make sure that you take it up on priority and do continuous refactoring. Okay, so technical debt. So friends, today, if you ask me, in the Agile implementation, do we have any visibility into technical debt our team is preparing? No. But we need to, because it is not about somehow doing it. No, it is about the right way of doing it. So this is where I'm telling, development team is enabled. Are they living up to their empowerment? Are they doing their coding? Are they doing their testing properly? Okay, this is one metric. The second metric, friends, I'm talking about is, if you look at it, okay, sprint after sprint, we are delivering, but how many technical debt we are leaving? That means in sprint 1, we left a code with 12 story points worth of work. That means we touched the code, Because in the name of doing things very quickly, we feel that 12 story points worth of work tomorrow need to be done. For now, it is working, but for it to work effectively, properly, 12 story points worth of work need to be addressed. Similarly, in sprints 2, 10 story points technical debt we created. In sprint 3, 15. In sprint 4, 18. Now, if you put this kind of technical story points required to address the technical debt created in the respective sprints, if you intersperse this with the velocity, okay, in the sprint 1, what you're doing is 32 story points you realized. But you know what? 12 story points worth technical debt is created. Similarly, if you see here, more number of velocity you're realizing, more technical debt story points you're creating. What is the use, friends? What is the use? For example, here in this sprint, here in this 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth sprint, 35 story points worth of work you delivered, 18 story points technical debt, the need for technical debt is you have created. So that means net 35 minus 18, 17 only you delivering, right? Again, you are creating 18 story points worth of work in the product backlog to address it tomorrow. So what is point of, claiming, saying, we achieved 35 story points worth of work? Now, as we are enabling the development team, they should also tell the fact, right? Guys, 35 story points worth of work we are creating, great. But however, 18 story points of technical debt we are creating, this need to be addressed tomorrow. Is development team telling? Are they following ethics? Are they following transparency? You only think about it. If they're following, the great. But we are enabling the team. We are enabling the team. We are listening to them. We are believing them. Are we getting any visibility in terms of what they're developing? No. In turn, the development team, they don't give any space to the testers or other people. They think as if they are the big experts. But what they do is mostly 60% of the job, they take certain piece of the code and they paste it. And they create technical debt. And there are certain functions which is 150 lines to 200 lines. And they don't even care about whether the variables are global variables or local variables. What they care about is things are working out or not. Is it the enablement? If the development team is actually living up to their standards, they're doing great job, salute. Those are the teams we want. But how many teams of such kind we are actually facing? Is it not tomorrow leading to a slow product, a less quality product? We don't have visibility into technical debt created sprint after sprint. Don't we need to know that? That's a question. This session is actually enlightening us in terms of, yes, we need to know, not with an intent of micromanaging, but with intent of where to focus, where to make decision making. So the other metrics, friends, test coverage and code coverage. Often the test coverage and code coverage they're getting confused. So I just wanted to explain here. Test coverage is number of test cases executed by total number of test cases. For example, there's a software you're building, 500 total test cases are there, out of which as of now 300 test cases our team has executed. So 300 executed divided by total number of 500 test cases into 100, 60% is the test coverage. Similarly, code coverage is, for example, as part of unit testing, what we do is we run unit tests so that each line of the code, the number of lines code that we developed, for example, we developed a total of, let's say, 500 lines, out of which through using our unit tests, 400 lines of the code is touched. That means 400 by 500, right? 80%. So this is what is the code coverage. So test coverage is the responsibility of the QA. The code coverage is the responsibility of the developer. He creates unit tests, right? We need to know about it. Do we get any insights into it? Today, as sprint starts, sprint planning happens, heavy focus happens on Scrum Master. He goes to Jira or version 1, ensure that every sprint backlog is done, tasking is done. And then do we get any insights into test coverage, code coverage? This is the of the technical work, right? Why this is not visible to us? Okay, now let's understand test coverage in a bit more detailed way. Okay, so see, for example, there are 10 requirements out there. Now at the design phase, we say, okay, 10 requirements are there, and we have created 100 test cases covering happy path or happy acceptance criteria, failure acceptance criteria, and alternate paths: happy path, failure path, and alternate path. We have created test cases 100, and all these 100 are covering all the test cases. The moment the test case review is done, we say we have adequate test coverage. That's what we do. We tell in design phase. In the design phase, you make sure that your total number of test cases are catering to all the requirements and their acceptance criteria. Now, in execution phase, for example, on 6th day or 7th day, okay, you come and say, okay, how many requirements are covered so far? 6 requirements. Okay, what are the total requirements? 10. Okay, 6 out of 10. Okay, 6 are covered. Now, how many test cases executed? 80. What is the total? 100. Okay, so what is your test coverage? It is 80 by 100, 80%, but 6 out of 10 requirements only got covered. Do we hear this on the field? I'm asking, do we hear? Similarly, in the second sprint, out of 10 requirements, 8 requirements got covered with my test cases and 90 test cases executed, and out of which total 100. So 90 out of 100 test cases executed, which is 90%, but with a caveat saying that 2 requirements are not yet tested. Did we get the same kind of thing from the testers? What is, we get an estimate, and at the end of the day, they test it, they say, I'm signing off. And even in certain situations, we don't even know who is signing off. There is no accountability also. So without doing this proper test coverage, if they sign off, do you think the product will be successful? And tomorrow, who will be taking the customer escalations and all those things? This is the product manager, the PMO team. You call them as Scrum Masters or whatever it is, the management, whatever it is. Now, in Agile, we are enabling people. We trust people. But then they also need to stand back, right? Are they doing? Check yourself. First of all, if you go and ask, what is the test coverage? In 60% of scenarios, the QA people won't even tell the test coverage. In some scenarios, I have seen the test cases are there in their mind. They don't even write pass, fail, all those things, they don't mention there. So such kind of projects we are working, and we are saying in Agile, we should not get in deep. So how we'll build good products, how customers will be happy. Yeah. The third thing is user story characteristics, definition of ready, right? So only stories which are, which meet the definition of ready. That means invest principle and smart principle. I'm not covering in detail. You can refer one of my videos. So only the stories which are meeting the definition of ready criteria should be allowed into the sprints. But what happens? Product owners, they come and say, look, I'll give you this particular thing by day after tomorrow. You can work on it. So we work on it. Day after tomorrow comes, he will not provide because some other genuine reason. So what happens? You pick up a story, you can't work on it, and you end up as if you plan for 35 story points, but you're ending up with only 25 story points. So 10 story points worth of work you did not deliver. See, tomorrow, once this data gets into the history, people will forget why there's a dip of 10 story points. They only remember this team, 35 plan, 25 achieve. That's all. So this becomes that is the only inference they make. And they don't know, the other stakeholders will not be understanding that, there is a push from the product owner community to take up the stories, right? So all those things I wanted to put in a metric saying that sprint 1, what is the test coverage? What is the code coverage? Did we take only definition of ready stories into sprints? What is the planned story points? What are the delivered story points? Okay, how many story points that are required to address the bugs? Okay, so at the beginning of the bugs, you may not know, but after completion of the bug, you know how much complexity it is. Based on that, you can provide the story point estimation for that. Are we meeting the sprint goal or not? So when you see the fusion of these particular metrics, what is the test coverage? What's the code coverage? Are you taking definition of ready stories into your sprints? What's the planned story points? What are the delivered story points? How many bugs you created because of poor quality? How much story points required to address this? Did we meet the sprint goal or not? If you see here, sprint 2 and sprint 3, the test coverage and code coverage is less. And hence you also see that, you are ending up creating more bugs. Okay, these 15 story points, 20 story points worth of effort you have to invest to address the bug. So why are we not doing first time right? Okay, then third one, fourth sprint, you allowed, DOR and complaint stories. You said, okay, even though a story is not DOR complaint, I'm taking it up. What's the goal? You ended up delivering less stories. Plan 35, delivered 35. Even though your test coverage, code coverage is good, because certain dependencies there on third party, you basically the team ended up as 10 story points dipped. Plan 35 story points, deliver 25 story points, 10 story points are there. So you did not meet your goal. So this is, oh, this team, they did not meet sprint goal consistently. But why? Is it because the first time thing not done properly from the product owner in terms of providing definition of ready stories, or by the development team? Right? That can be code coverage and test coverage. The moment you know this, then you show this particular thing, then people will take action. They probably will add more time for those test coverage and code coverage related tasks. Or you may bring in some expert into this. Similarly, friends, the other concept is burn down and burn up graphs. I see you are aware of it, but I just want to let you know, burn down is all about how many hours you are burning down. Okay. On the y-axis, it can be hours or story points. Okay. This you can apply on the release or the sprint. Okay. Similarly, burn up is cumulative number of things you completed. That means cumulative number of story points, cumulative number of stories. In certain situations, cumulative number of important tasks, whatever it is. Its burn up is how much you are able to burn up. That means what is the cumulative piece you achieve. So on the y-axis, it can be story points or number of stories. This burn down and burn up graph you can implement at the sprint level or the release level. Okay. So how is the burn down, burn up graph is happening? The burn up and burn down graph talks a lot of things. The trend talks how actually the development team is living up to. But now what is happening is people say automation. I want to do automation of burn down and burn up graph. Can I see this in Jira? Can I see this in the version 1? And those graphs will be haphazard, because those graphs are haphazard and we end up not looking at it. So because of which, what is happening? We don't know how day after day progress is happening. How are we towards the goal? We don't know. How many hours we are burning down day after day? We don't know. How many story points we are burning down from sprint after sprint? We don't know. Then how can we take proper decisions to build a product? How are we preventing things? Is it that we go to the field, we meet with an accident, and then we get into the hospital? What is the use? The name of empowering the team is the team is living up to their standards. Think about it, my friends. Think about it. Okay, now how many number of stories you started but you've not delivered? Sprint after sprint. How many sprints you passed? How many sprints you failed? How much percentage of goals, sprint goal you met, sprint after sprint? Sprint 1, 30%, sprint 2, 40%, sprint 3, 70%. Planned versus actual, how the trend is happening. It will give a lot of dynamics to you. Okay. So other thing is, if you're running in a Kanban project, there is a metric called work in progress. This is called the number of work items started but not finished. That means you started, but you're not finished. Similarly, the other concept called cycle time. That means the elapsed time between when the work gets started and when work gets finished on a specific item. This item, we have taken 13 days, 12 days. So I have seen people wherein people represent this. Then if you don't understand the lead time, if you don't understand the work in progress limit, okay, and then if you don't understand the work item age, for example, the items which are in progress, how many days they are still there. If you don't understand the throughput or delivery rate, that means the number of work items finished per unit time, the features per week, stories per sprint, bugs per day, what is the average cycle time? How are we taking teams toward better tomorrow? How are we ensuring that customers will be happy? We need to know that. See, most of the times we take pride in showing reports. My friend, showing reports is only 20%. 80% is actioning towards better progress, actioning towards better customer, actioning towards better employees or people, so that we can get good business growth. Okay. So the other things, if you're working on DevOps kind of a project, then what is the failure rate? For example, here there are two concepts I'm talking about. One is failure rate, another is mean time between failures. For example, there are five bulbs are there, and there's an AC circuit. So every 1 hour you switch on, switch off. All 5 bulbs are stick to it. Now what happens is first bulb fails after 422 hours. That means 422 hours, the first bulb fails. The second bulb fails after 744 hours. The third bulb fails after 803 hours. Fourth bulb fails 678 hours. Whereas fifth bulb will continuously be there till 1000 hours, because you are managing for 1000 hours. Okay, all the 1000 hours, this bulb, working fine. Now you have total 4 failures. Bulb 1 failed 422 hours, where it is expected to be, continuously working for 1000 hours. Bulb 2 after 744. So there are total 4 failures. If you sum up all the hours, is 3647. So what is the failure rate? Is 4 failures divided by 3647 hours of your monitoring, which is giving you 0.0011 failure per hour. This metric looks odd. So multiplied with 1000. So it tells 1.1 failures per 1000 hours. Okay. If you observe for 1000 hours, you will get 1.1 failures. This metric you actually apply for the build failures. Okay. It talks about the health of the production. Similarly, there's another metric called mean time between the failure. That means it is average time between system breakdown. So in our case, 3647 operational hours were there, out of which 4 failures were done. If you average it, it comes to around 909 hours. So on an average, around 909 hours on an average, you may get 1 failure. So it talks about the production health system. So when we are applying agile projects, okay, on DevOps related things, we need to know these things. Without knowing these things, how we can take better decisions to ensure proper health of the production. Okay, what is uptime? For example, there are 2 iterations. Okay, first iteration, okay, for example, in a week span of time, okay, in a week, okay, there is a downtime of 1 hour of a website. Okay, 24 hours per day, 7 days a week, total 168 hours. There is a 1 hour downtime is there, so 99.4 hours. But in the other week, there are 3 more failures. That is 1 plus 3 is equal to 4 failures. Then the uptime is actually coming down to 97.6%. That means 24 hours into 7, 168 hours, 4 downtimes were there. 4 hours the system was not available. So 164 hours is what is available. See, the available time by total time is what is the uptime. What is the uptime of my system? When you have numbers, the numbers will actually make you sure more objective way of looking at the situations. Okay, friends. Then the other metrics so far so far we talked about development team. If you look at it now, I'm talking about we completed product owner. Then we are talking about technical debt. We're talking about velocity versus technical debt. We are producing more velocity, but at what cost? More technical debt. Then that's not a good development. Okay. And then what is test coverage? What is code coverage? And, are we taking definition of ready stories only into the sprint? And are we following, or are we, creating tasks that meets definition of done? Are we saying something is done only when the definition of done is met? Or is the situation saying that, we know definition of done is not met, but still we say done? Why so? So when you put it in a matrix like this, then you actually get beautiful messages out of it. You can know where the problem is happening. Similarly, what's the burn down? What's the burn up? It's not about producing these graphs. It's about inferring these graphs. It's about taking proper decision. It's about making people focus on where the problem is. The moment they are convinced there's a problem here, they will fix it. Whether it's a student or a child or an employee, if they are genuinely interested and genuinely convinced that the problem is happening because of XYZ reason, they'll fix it. So our role is to show them where the problem is. Our role is to show them that the torchlight on the proper area. Okay, friends. So then the next one is how the release burndown is happening. How many stories we are not able to complete in a sprint? What is the percentage of sprint goal, sprint after sprint we are meeting? This is what is talking about your development team's capability. Are they standing up to the empowerment we are enabling them? Are we getting these insights? If you are working on Kanban metrics, what is work in progress? What is cycle time? What are you taking to minimize the cycle times, iteration after iteration? Why specific ticket has taken more cycle time? Okay, will not be, is it that customer will not be, the customer will be unhappy if you are producing cycle time, more cycle time, if you're taking more cycle time. See, the point is there can be 99 genuine reasons why you can't take steps, but you don't need to be, you don't want to be a problem party. You want to be part of solution party. Take that one route. Tell how you can, your throughput, right? So this is the failure rates, the mean time failure rates for DevOps teams, uptime. These are all talking about efficacy of development team. Okay, friends. The next one is engagement and happiness index. So you come up with certain very simple measures in terms of engagement index. Engaging means the two people, for example, I give a rating 1 of engagement if there's a wall, means these people don't talk to each other at all. They talk through a neutral person. And second one is I give a rating 2, they talk well, they talk well. And the third one I give is they're open to meet well. The fourth one is they work well, they create progress. The fifth one is they are like a performing team. The moment you give them task, they are positioned to meet it. So come up with very measures, come up with very simple measures. We don't need to have a big dictionary. Let's define a lightweight engagement index. The way, usually through visuals, so that people can actually provide rating very quickly. Similarly, whether it is employee satisfaction or a customer satisfaction, come up with certain measures. 1 means not happy. 2 means somewhat happy. 3 means okay. 4th one is happy, but 5th one is extremely happy. Okay, come up with these visuals, whether it is customer satisfaction or people satisfaction. So there are 2 things: engagement, how we talk to each other. There's another thing is how happy we are. So let's have those metrics. Okay. Now when you put it like, sprint after sprint, how your customer engagement, customer satisfaction, employee engagement, and employee satisfaction is happening within a sprint team. If you see here, customers and employees, customers were at 4, employees were at 5. Customers continues to be 4, but somehow something has happened. We have not acknowledged that within that team. Now, or some blunder has happened. So employee engagement got into 3, their satisfaction has got 3. Now, customers may not be knowing it, because unless they receive the products, the fruits of these unhappy employees, then only their rating will be less. So in the next sprint, engagement is okay, but they're not happy because quality is not met. The quality is not met because these people are not happy in this sprint. And these people were further down, 2 and 3. Now customer is able to interact. Guys, what's happening? He's engaging. His interactions are good, but he's not happy because we could not deliver stories up to his satisfaction. So always customers will get that pulse 1 sprint, 2 sprints after. If you can able to understand and the employee happiness index, actually you can predict employee customer satisfaction in the upcoming sprints, because the fruits of employees is only what customer provides. So if happy people are there, they provide happy products. If unhappy people are there, they provide unhappy products. So it just takes 1 or 2 sprints for customer to tell you the feedback. If you can put your lens at the employee level, then you can actually predict the customer level. Most of the scenarios, logically. The moment you are making employees are happy, then again, this particular customer satisfaction is coming to 4 and 5. Look at the numbers, friends. Look at the way they're talking about it. It's not about putting the numbers in a report and publishing it. You take some 4 hours to produce this report, but we have to spend some 10 minutes to understand what these numbers are telling to me. How can I get benefited because of that? Okay. Now, process metrics. Now I'm talking about Scrum Master, friends. Now, how is the risk exposure is happening from first sprint to second sprint? What is risk exposure? Risk exposure is the probability of the risk into the loss of days is risk exposure. Okay, so there are 5 risks, and if you multiply their probability into the loss of days, it is risk exposure. So sprint after sprint, how the total exposure at that particular cross section is 10.8. So you started your risk exposure with 5 risks, 10.8. Then it is actually going to 12.8, either because we could not predict the risks well, or we are not showing the sense of urgency to resolve the risks. See, obviously, friends, when impediments are not resolved at a quicker phase or quicker pace, I don't think we can achieve progress. And if the impediments are not resolved properly, then our Scrum Master has to take accountability. But now what is happening? We don't know the risk exposure. Nobody tracks whether impediments are properly solved or not. Okay, what is the average time to resolve within the team? How much time it is taking to resolve impediments? Let's say 2 days. 2 days, why it is taking? Within the team, within the 6-member team, within the 8-member team, within the 4-member team. Why it is taking 2 days? It just comes, okay, guys, this is the impediment. He's a reporter, right? He's a reporter. He is not understanding his power. So 2 days. Why it is taking 2 days? Because developers on their own, they will solve it. Then what is the use of product owner? That's a Scrum Master. And then if at all this impediment is waiting on somebody else, I'm reporting, but that person is not doing, what can I do is what we'll get the response. Boss, Scrum Master is enabler, go-getter. You should identify means of getting things done. You should use every external impediment, every internal impediment as a way to understand the health of the situation, the health of the stakeholders. You should identify methods to solve it quickly. That is why our job is there. If we don't solve metrics with sense of urgency, if you don't solve impediments with sense of urgency, then developers, they don't have work. The platform is not working, certain third-party dependency is there. Then their time is sacrosanct. Unless they work, we don't get product. And then what basis Scrum Master is taking time not resolving the impediments? Who is tracking them? Who is tracking Scrum Master? Who is tracking product owner? Every tracking is happening on your development team, that too on number of story points delivered versus planned. Now, if this is how we work, do you think we'll achieve? We need to know where exactly. Okay, now in certain teams, I have seen the daily stand-up meeting is going to for 45 minutes with 12 people or 13 people. Can we have 13 people in a team? Can we have average team 45 minutes to 1 hour everyday stand-up meeting? Do you think you will get people satisfaction if they spend 1 hour only for listening to all 13 people? What is the use for me to listen to all 12 people? Everybody will come to that stage. See, the feeling of the team will have 3 to 9 member team, not more than that. The moment you actually crosses the 9-member mark, what happens is that the engagement will get reduced. The satisfaction will get reduced. How much time you are taking to do sprint planning? 6 hours. First day is gone. And then next day comes, what did you do yesterday is what people ask. Array, yesterday you completed 6 hours of sprint planning. How can I expect you to work? So attendance will be there, engagement will be less, satisfaction will be less. Similarly, sprint review 3 hours, sprint retrospective 3 hours. And then how many number of in retrospective actions you closed on an average? No. What is not going well? What is going well? What can improve? Put everything, because we are, as part of this prescriptive Scrum, we'll do this. But then employees come and provide their feedback. There is no action on top of that. Then why should I contribute to the sprint retrospective? Friends, people will contribute only when there is a result. There is a fruitful thing. The team changes. Then there is a action is there. There is a change is there. Then they contribute. I come across certain Scrum Masters who say, people won't attend my retrospective meetings, Krishnamurthy. What to do? Array, you don't do retrospectives in a fun way, in an interactive way. They have lost interest in those retrospectives. So people want to come. Even if they come, they make sure the laptops on, mobile phones on. So Scrum Master's job also need to be taken care. The process metrics, how Scrum Master, how the product owner, how the development team are performing their roles. We need to know. In the absence of knowing 360 degrees view, if you just harp on less velocity, what will you fix? Problem is somewhere else. We diagnose something else. Then how you can expect we actually start screwing what good is there, that also we screw, because our diagnosis is something, problem is something, and you start paining good performing people and they leave. So it is very important. process metrics, we need to know. Okay. Then other thing is fusion metrics. Fusion metrics means you fuse. For example, here if you see epic after epic, how much a simple epics are taking. Epic 1 is taking two sprints time of 36 story points. And they're happy. The team 1 is happy at 4 level. Their engagement is 5. They have been at a longevity. There's a long-standing team. They have been in the organization for the last 3 years. Whereas team 2, the same, another simple epic, they're taking 24 story points. Okay, team 3, basically, so what happens if epic versus number of, so how many sprints an epic is taking? Because obviously epic is combination of multiple story points. Who is performing? And what is their average sprint, average velocity for in the recent 3 sprints? How happy they are? How much engagement they show? What is the longevity? This is what, you have to see things in a holistic way to get a better decision. Clarity in thought is important. The clarity in thought leads to clarity in decision, and clarity in decision will lead to proper action. And that is what motivates the context. And that is what gives you the progress. Similarly, the other fusion metric is, okay, story, how many days, story 1, how many days it is taking, and who performed that, what is their average velocity, how happy they are, how much engagement they're showing, how long they have been here. And if you analyze this metric, this data will talk beautiful message, my friends. Only you can understand it because you're more close to your context. So other thing is velocity. It is not about just velocity, my friends. It is velocity versus the value points, number 1. Number 2 is velocity versus the happiness index. Okay, so velocity versus value points is one graph. You're fusing these two things, right? And velocity versus happiness. So when you fuse, if you do 2 or 3 or 4 metrics, see this, it gives you beautiful message about what's happening. Okay. The next one is, friends, at the end of the day, our intent is to know what is happening. At this point in time, my friends, we want progress. We want people happiness. We want customer happiness. We want business growth. For this, the product owner need to do his job well. The Scrum Master need to do his job well. The development team need to stand up to the empowerment and enablement provided. And the customer should be happy and cooperative. All these dimensions we should know. That is the reason I'm telling you, friends. Our intent of knowing the metrics is to know. The intent should not be evaluate. It should not compare. It should not compare the individuals. Okay, the learning related goals, we do not recommend using metrics. Instead, we want self-organized teams to learn their pace. Okay, for organization performance related goals, okay, metrics can be used to share understanding. For example, for learning, we don't want to compare. Whereas for organization performance, we wanted to see how things happening, because we are responsible for happy products, happy customers, happy people, happy progress. So our intent is to know. When the intent is clear, we provide proper actions and it leads to proper results. So with this, my friends, the whole concept is where there is a high value, where there's a low cost, go and act it. Where there is a high value, where there's a high cost, consider it, carefully consider those things. Where there is a low value, low cost, might be worth of it. Low value, high cost, don't take it. So friends, the whole intent of this session is to understand, to know the cross-section of these things. With this, I thank your time to learn this concept, Agile Metrics from the field, number 1. Number 2 is I look forward to add more value add sessions in future. Thank you. With this, I take questions.